What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 11 of Straight to the Kokoro. I am joined today by Kyle Law, and we're going to do things a little different today. So, Kyle, first of all, appreciate you joining me. Um, and Kyle's going to kind of introduce himself instead of me talking for someone else.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, man. But yeah, my name's Kyle Waugh. I'm a licensed physical therapist assistant. I'm also certified strength and conditioning coach, as well as a certified personal trainer. I always forget about that one, but I do online training and sort of like rehab stuff. I am a just bro lifter at heart. I just like lifting weights, putting on muscle mass. Um, and then I also enjoy, hiking, watching some good anime, and hanging out with my dog and my fiance. So that's really about it. Just kind of enjoying Cincinnati for what it is, but I do miss the West Coast, and so I'm really jealous of you and Connor.
Yeah, dude, I've never lived on this side of the country before. It's definitely like culture shock. And other people who there's a lot of people from New Jersey strangely out here. Like some guy was waving me down the other day, and I thought he was like just complimenting my car, and then he just kind of kept gesturing me, and I was like, "We rolled down the window." He's like, "Where in Jersey you from?" And I was like, "What the hell?"
Like, how do you
Like
know
his
this?
uncle
Like,
lives. His uncle's from the town next door to me. Like this is just at a stoplight. This guy was on the sidewalk. I was like, "This small world, man. Small world."
that's crazy. I know a lot of people from. I went to University of Kentucky, which is in Lexington,
Yep, I've
but like
actually drove past it on the way out here.
there you go, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful little city. Awesome college town, but a ton of people from there moved out to Denver. And it's like, I don't even know what the population is, but they have a ton of like Kentucky people from there. So like I go out and visit and I'll just be like walking down the street and see someone. And I'm like, I haven't seen you in years. Like,
That's
why are
weird.
you here? Like,
It's that reminds me of I was telling someone, and this sounds like there's a bar like 3 towns away from me where I went to high school. And if you go there on like New Year's Eve, you can just basically have a small class reunion that you didn't ask for. Um,
right,
and like, but it's like all like my town was, every town has cliques, I would definitely say, but my town being affluent, it was definitely like more stratified probably than most, I would assume. So it was just always interesting outside after you're done with like the bubble of high school, and it's like you can't always be the same person. Like, and you
right.
run into people and how much more open they are, possibly. I'd say most people, everyone for the most part, changed for the better. I don't think I've ran into anyone that's really been like, "Oh, you're a bigger asshole than you were before," possibly.
That'd be a problem.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. I mean,
Yeah.
where on the West Coast were you living?
So my fiance and I, we moved out to Seattle, and we lived there for 3 years. And I mean, I had spent my entire life in Kentucky. I grew up in Louisville, and then we moved to. I went to University of Kentucky in Lexington. It's like an hour and a half away from where I grew up. And then we were just like, hey, we had known each other for a long time, but we had only been like dating for 8 months. And we're like, you want to go move to Seattle? Like,
Oh,
so
that's cool.
yeah, we drove out there. Luckily, it all worked out. Like we're getting married here in less than a month now, so September 2nd. But yeah, we lived out there, and it was the best decision. Like I wish it wasn't as expensive as it is,
Yeah.
because that's like the only downer of it. But 100% like grew so much as a person. She grew, our um, just like in terms of career wise, like just everything. Like I feel like I'm a completely different person because of that experience.
I feel that. I mean, and also congrats ahead of time. That's I didn't realize it was a month away. You guys are getting married.
It's yeah, it came up quick.
Yeah. But now I feel that, man. If I didn't move out here and work with Connor, like I definitely would not be the same person I am in multiple aspects. But I think it also just highlights like I'd be curious for you to weigh in on this. So many people think, myself included, initially when you like hear of like the more complex biomechanic concepts, like you're just like, oh yeah, it's this simple, and it's like it's really not that simple. And until you're really like in it and you have to troubleshoot,
Hmm.
and also just see how much harder it is to like, I guess, work with someone that's really been in the trenches and like more difficult people, you realize like how important the little things are, and it's not as simple as like I watched the YouTube video, this shit's garbage, I couldn't do it on myself. It's like it's not that easy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that was selfishly part of the reason we moved to Seattle, because I was like getting into PRI and I'd seen some people doing it on Instagram, and you get on like the PRI website and it's like, where are the practitioners? And the closest one was like Chicago. And I'm like, okay, I think these guys can help me out, but there's no one around me at all. So I found like Zach Couples' website. I was literally reading everything about it. I wasn't even in school for this stuff. Like I was just starting training, and I got into my PTA program in Seattle, and I applied to all the schools where there was like a high density of PRI practitioners.
That's a good
So I was like,
move.
oh yeah. So I was like, Seattle, there we go. And I was still on my parents' insurance. So I like started school in July, and we moved out there like a week earlier than like when I started school. And I think within the first 2 weeks of living there, I had appointments with like two different PRI practitioners with my parents' insurance, because I was just like, oh, I just wanted to learn it, honestly. So I
Oh
used my
yeah.
parents' insurance to talk to these people, get like hour sessions and like learn some of the stuff. And it's probably the best decision I ever made.
No, that's awesome. I wish there was when I initially tore my labrum, I was like I wanted to go to out of network PT, and my parents were like, "Don't do that. You're gonna pay like this much money." And the dudes by me, at least in Jersey, if you're familiar with them, are like resilient. Um,
Yeah.
like they use it pretty well, especially in like a training session. Because I actually interned at the place they have an office in New Jersey, but for the baseball facility that they're out of. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay. And then I went for regular PT, and then Elish Lee was the one who taught me PRI. And I was like, this is way better than regular PT. It was like, for me at least, right? Like
Yeah.
it gave me like so in one session, like I felt so much more comfortable in my body and stability that like for the past year, I was just like, I can't like load my left hip, or I couldn't load my right hip. I'm sorry, I couldn't load my right hip.
Hmm. Yeah. I like definitely like looking at the body in that way, like rather than it just being levers, like, you have like the neuro input, you've got the pressure system. It's just so much more. Sometimes I feel like, what's the movie Limitless? Like he takes that little thing and it's
Yeah,
like thinking in all these different like equations and crazy stuff. Like that's I even think like, what's the test that dentists have to take where it's like 3D mapping or something
I don't
for,
even know. That sounds
oh, there's like
insane.
some test they have to take because, like I guess working on people's teeth, like it's so three-dimensional that they have to like take this extra test, like taking an MCAT or something that
Yeah,
shows that they can like conceptually like do the job. And
makes
so I
sense.
always think about like anyone that's like a PRI person or thinks about this stuff, like we have to be able to ace that test. Like,
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that was the stuff that like kind of messed me up the most as I've like recently gone through some of the cranial and dental stuff.
yeah,
And someone's just like, yeah, this person has like a left like side bend, which means they probably don't have the contact of these teeth. And it's like, obviously we're not gonna like start most people there, like
right.
by any means, but like when someone was like, yeah, you have like a groin in your mouth and your heels are basically your molars, and I was like, what the.
Yeah. You had me at I have a groin in my mouth.
Yeah, like when someone, I mean, it makes sense the way it's structured. I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But like the first time we're watching this and they're talking about like your temporal bones, like you can feel your hips move. You don't really feel the bones that your ears attached to like rotate, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's I will say like I think that stuff's like fascinating, and I've had the pleasure of working with a couple of people where, it was truly the team. Like we had a myofunctional therapist, they had their, orthodontist, and
Oh
they
yeah.
were like, it was super cool, like to watch it. But I mean, a lot of the times I can get people doing the same stuff with just like some strength training, which is nice. And it's a little far less complicated. But it is cool. Like I had this one lady who she had some different things going on, like health wise, but she got her like tongue tie released,
Okay.
and she was talking about like the sensation of it, and like when because I mean, like she legit couldn't, like she could raise the tip of her tongue off the bottom of her mouth, like
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
bad it was. Like this needed to be taken care of. It wasn't just like, oh, you might have this. It's like you can't even move your tongue.
Yeah.
um but she got the front part released, and she was talking about like all the symptom relief that she had, and like, her heart rate, like stuff. Like Zach Couples has even talked about that, but like her heart rate, like resting heart rate decreased, all these different things. It's like, man, that is wild. Like,
I no, I 100% believe that. I mean, I instantly just think about the resting position it's going to have in her mouth. And like,
exactly.
it's funny, Zach taught Human Matrix the weekend
Mhm.
after he just got his cut. So he's talking with like a bit of a lisp, like
Yeah.
when I took the course. But I feel like on what you just said, I feel like what I've noticed, at least because we've taken some courses together, we followed each other for quite a few years. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like now you're just having fun with social media. Like, and I'd be curious, like, you're still putting out like content, right? Like, also informational stuff and drills. But I feel like other than that, like I guess you and Jake Turner remind me of each other at this point.
Yeah, I definitely have been hanging out with Jake a little bit more, but
Like
I think the way, like, I think people need to, or I did a podcast with Angus Bradley, and he said it really well, but it's like you need to earn your complexity, right? Like, you can get as complex as you want, and I completely agree with that. But for you to be able to do that, you need to make sure that you've crossed off all of the bare bone basics, right? Like you have your strength there, you got your sleep, you got your nutrition, you've covered all your bases before you're going to go, you know, balls to the wall. Sorry, I don't know if I'm
no, dude,
uh,
I curse all the time on here.
okay. Before you go like balls to the wall in this one thing that is like super specific, you know what I mean? And that's,
Yeah.
I think, just reminding people of that, because I know when I first got into PRI, and like it's nothing against um, the practice or anyone that does it. It's just, what does the person actually need? What's the best bang for their buck? Yeah, there's people that 100% need that, but if I just have a little bit of hip pain and then I watch a video on my molars not connecting, like that's a big leap.
Yeah.
And I just get a lot of questions about that. My DMs are filled with people like, what do you think about this and that? And it's like, when was the last time you lifted something kind of heavy? And they're like, oh, it's been years. I've never done it. It's like, try that first.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely agree it has a place. And I think the way we apply it in the gym here is like if someone comes in, we do an eval, I'll still take like either Connor or I will take their overs, we'll take some basic measurements just to get an idea of where they're at. And of course, ask like, do you have any issues that you're experiencing
Right.
or limitations? And if it's like, no, cool, maybe we'll give you one drill to give you some posterior expansion. But other than that, you're going to train and we could probably, set you up for success with the training movements to where you're going to feel better. We're not going to have to worry about over cueing you. And it's also not going to be that. And then in other cases, like we have people who just do drills for an hour because they drive an hour just to come to the gym.
Yeah. Give them what they want. Right.
Yeah, exactly. But I
Yeah.
definitely think, like you're saying too, it's like I just think instantly when you said the molars thing, the WebMD syndrome, where you're just like instead of kind of the most obvious answer, right? You're gonna be like, holy shit, I must have like an out of alignment pelvis. It's like you
Yeah.
always technically and you always will. Like not
Right.
gonna be
It's
able
like,
to
oh,
walk anywhere if you're symmetrical.
exactly. You get online, it's like everything's cancer. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
dude. I literally love like Occam's razor. Like
yeah,
the
right.
simplest answer is often it. Like, and the example I've given clients where they're like, yeah, I think like I just reverted back. And it's like, what did you do recently? And someone would be like, I went out dancing for like 5 hours the other day for the first time in 3 months. And it's like, I think that's why you
Weird.
have neck pain, not because you slept the wrong way. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not really, you haven't done that in a while. Like, it's been a minute.
I mean, I'm guilty of the same thing, not to like put like just say with that. I've definitely looked stuff up and I'm like, oh no, I have this. And it's like,
Right.
oh, I gotta get off here right now because I'm just gonna mess myself up.
Yeah. Let me go drink some water and just relax for an hour and see what happens. Like, before I go to the ER. Like,
Oh
I think we've
yeah.
all been
I think my
there.
worst thing is I'll just look up psychology stuff and I'm just like, is this a mental thing I'm dealing with? And it's like that's even more, I think, subtle than like you could feel and see visually if like your shoulders are higher. It's like this is like if you're neurotic to some degree, you just be like, oh crap.
Yeah, that's tough, man. And that, I know. I think a lot of it too is just the what you the type of information you're consuming, Like that plays a huge part in it. And I definitely notice a difference when, like, if I'm feeling down or I like have something going on like that, I'm typically like chilling and watching a lot of TV or like staring at my phone. And then I'll like try to put on an audiobook or a podcast of like someone that's doing something like badass or like business related. I'm like, I feel 10,000 times better. Like I'm so motivated now. And like just doing that, I'll listen to like a Jordan Peterson thing. It's like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm ready to go. Like,
Yeah, I actually really love. Ellis had turned me on to him. I really love Jordan Peterson, like the way he thinks.
yeah. Have you
Um,
done what is it? The self-authoring
no,
program?
Ellis told me about it too. Did you do it?
I did, man. That is so when my dad passed away this past November, I was like, this sucks. Like, and I didn't really want to talk to anybody. And I
Yeah.
used that, which I don't know if it was the most healthy thing or the right thing to do, but it helped immensely. And I mean, it was awesome. But I mean, you're sitting there just kind of like answering questions about yourself. It's just like a guided journaling of some sort, and it's
No.
very thought provoking. I think of it as like a guided, like Marcus's meditations in some ways.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I actually have the book on my shelf.
yeah, it's super. Like the whole time I was doing, I was like thinking of like Marcus like writing this stuff and doing all these things. I'm like, oh man, like this is helpful. It being able to just get those thoughts out, and then like there's something powerful about it.
No, I'm really happy that helped you, and I definitely feel that too. I've had like the therapist I have now, like when she initially did an intake form, she sent me like a list of questions, and I just remember, first of all, it was more paperwork than I expected, but like writing them out, like I'm just looking at this stuff that I don't think I ever put on paper. That like maybe I thought about it in my head, and I'm like, yeah, that's a pattern. Like this was in the context of romantic relationships, and I just remember writing it down. I was like, holy fucking shit! I'm like, they're all the same except like one. One of them was different, and I was
Yeah.
just like, wow. I'm like, okay, like that's it's kind of hard to ignore it, and like, but it's also definitely cathartic. Like there's a good amount of stuff I've read that like just even journaling in general and getting out some of the stuff that's in your head like can reduce the anxiety about it, like the overall intensity. I think that's like very popular for people after have super intense distressing experiences. If you just like brain dump,
Hmm.
like it will actually help you cope with it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like there's just getting stuff out of your head because again, it's like it's weird. I always think of this stuff in relation to like the body too, but you always get stuck in these loops and patterns and or like positive feedback loops in some way. So it's like
Yeah.
I have this same pattern that's always happening, compensation, whatever. Same thing's happening up here. Like the body's just a series of pattern or body and the brain series of like pattern recognizing consciousness. It's weird, but like whenever you can sort of like get that pattern out in front of you, like and actually like look at it versus like just kind of hitting the high points of what you're always thinking about, that makes a huge difference, or even just talking, saying stuff out loud. That's the best way to learn. It's the best way to process emotion and all that stuff.
No, for sure. I like that comparison because I think it's like it's pretty similar. Like most of us have behavioral patterns, just like we have like natural movement patterns that we default to. So I can definitely see like when I'm buried physically in my like one hip, I would say maybe because we've done this for so long. Like
Hmm.
I'm typically okay, I have to go do an adductor pullback because I'm like I can't load my left at all. Like, but I just feel that. The same thing with like I'm stuck in a really anxious thought loop or like excessive worry. It's like you just recognize it, but at the same time I think it's like you recognize it either like I forget the term in front of it, but it's like meaningfully distract yourself or something like that,
Hmm.
or just recognize it. Because I think the biggest thing like I've recognized is like it's like the whole what you resist persists thing. And
Right.
like I practice meditation, and there's a lot of people that are like, oh, so you're trying to stop yourself from thinking. And it's like, no, no, no. That's like the equivalent of like, don't push the big red button. And meanwhile, you're like with a blindfold just slapping the button. You're like, I don't
Yeah.
know why this is getting worse. It's like, because you literally just you actually empower the loop, like you're saying.
Yeah. I I heard someone I think it was actually someone that Connor turned me on to, but they were saying that meditation's more about like recognizing and looking at the thoughts
Yeah.
and like examining them. And it's like you go one by one by one by one. And then finally you get to a point where it's like there's no thoughts left. Like you've sort of processed them all. And that's what you're looking for.
I think something that's really cool with it is like it's definitely non-reactiveness and like not yeah, but you're not trying to dissociate from them. You're just trying it's like non-reaction because in Buddhism at least there's this big term called like emptiness, which is like the color of the glasses you're looking through is what colors the things on the other side. So it's like
Mhm.
think about like when you're super distressed. Like actually I had this the other day. I was talking to someone about it. Like I had a couple days where my schedule's just been shit. I've slept in. It really pissed me off. I was down on myself. But then there are other days where I love the flow of those days that are really not planned out. I can kind of just free flow through it. And that highlights like, okay, what are the other things that are going on in my life that are changing the way I'm viewing the circumstances? Because having a non-structured day in one sense is great, and then in another moment it's not good. Like there's different conditions underlying both of those, but the days are still both this like same concept roughly.
Yeah, 100%. Do you find that you work better? Did you say that you work better with a non-structured day?
It depends. I need enough structure in the morning during the work week, like that I can
Mhm.
actually meditate, prep some food, more so that I'm like not falling behind in the other things I need to take care of myself. Like you were kind of saying earlier, with like maybe people don't sleep enough or their nutrition shit. Like I need to be able to prep enough food for like while we're at the gym for the day, so that way
Mhm.
like I can eat enough calories. I don't feel like crap. Same thing with like just being able to pace my morning so I'm not like running out the door 10 minutes before I have to like be at the gym.
Right. I I really want to put into practice this. I've been listening to a lot of Alex Hermosi. I
Okay,
don't know
I'm
if
not
you're,
familiar with them.
dude, he's making a big push on social media. So yeah, I'm sure yes, us just talking about it right now, like
I
they're
bet he,
probably the algorithm's listening, but
dude, I've gotten ads for like microwaves after I've just been like, yeah, I need a microwave. It's just like, oh,
yeah,
fuck.
100%, man. I now like that I'm watching more anime and stuff. Like it's
Oh,
been
you're
like,
done, man. My entire
oh,
explore tab is
it,
anime tattoos and drawing stuff.
yeah, that's all mine is now.
I
It's
just love that it's
ridiculous.
not fitness though. I do that is like one thing like with doing what we do. Like
Hmm.
I like that I can step out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely you're actually using social media for kind of what it's supposed to be, like not just all people hitting lifts and posing. Like,
Yeah, it gets boring. But you were saying with the Alex dude.
yeah. So he was talking about the best way to like structure a day that he found was he would block out his morning, so there was nothing but just like whatever he had to do, and then he wouldn't meet with clients or do calls until the afternoon. So he used all of his like energy and the coffee and stuff like till noon, knocked all that stuff out. That's like 4 or 5 hours of work. And then even though he might be tired, he has these obligations that then motivate him for the rest of the evening. So he would then go meet with a client, hop on a Zoom call, whatever it is. And that's how he structured his day versus I think a lot of times things are flip flopped where it's like, I got to meet all my clients. I got to make my calls first in the morning. That's my
Yeah.
work. And then the afternoon hits and it's like, man, I'm kind of tired. I could go work on this project or I could go watch 3 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Not, maybe speaking from personal experience there, but
I don't know. I don't know. It's oddly
I
strange.
don't know about that one.
No, I feel that though. I've recently done that with the 2 days I don't have to go into the gym till later because Connor I switch off who opens mornings. Um,
Hmm.
like I don't take clients anymore before like 8 a.m. I typically get up around 6 if I can. But like I want at least 2 hours that I can kind of figure out like, is there anything I really want to read right now or like draw or anything like that? Again,
Right.
meditate, like prep food. It's like, okay, I'm not taking anyone till this time because one, I don't need to. Like this has been something that's been coming up for me is like how much hustle culture is probably unnecessary. And that's not saying like I mean, actually, if you want to go live on a farm, I've thought about it, so I'm never gonna like diss that. Like, but like, I think I was talking to someone the other day about this. And it's like when clients come to us and they're like, I want to lose 5 pounds. And that 5 pounds, they have some emotional attachment to the number, right? Like, but at 5 pounds, because you have more muscle mass, maybe you still don't fit into the jeans the way you thought. Like you've had maybe a
Mhm.
ton of glute growth, right? But
Right.
like at the same time, I think about that financially. Like we need money, obviously, like especially if you're living in the US. But like if you make 100K as just an arbitrary number, like is that actually when you hit happiness? And it's like, no, it's the same thing as those 5 pounds.
Right. 100%. I think there's a it's the numbers are weird. Like people definitely like will attach themselves to it, but I think too it's a thing of comfort. At least with money in some ways. Like I think of like
Yeah.
I need to have this much money in my bank account and I feel comfortable, which is both a good and a bad thing because I've definitely had that number in my account where I feel comfortable and then I'm like I'm not going to work this week. Like
Yeah, yeah.
and it feels fine and you don't have that like pressure. And then there's other times like I do my best work under pressure.
Yep.
I think I'm definitely probably in hustle culture to some degree. Um, but it's whenever that pressure's on me, I get some of my best work done 100%. I'm ready to go. I have motivation. I think I'm a type B person too. So that's,
I would agree that I'm similar-ish probably in most ways.
yeah, Connor, that guy works like that. I will say that guy does not turn off. Like,
No, yeah, dude. I mean, I commend him so much for like we talk about like putting out content, right? Like I don't
oh yeah.
like putting out content, and my content will probably get like relatively weirder for people maybe who are in fitness because psychology is something I really love. And I think like, I think you'd be jacked and miserable, and that's not a good way to live your life in my mind. Like,
Yeah.
but with that, like I tell Connor, like it's really impressive that like he just always like he'll come in after like our 2.5 hour gap at the gym and just be like, I
Mhm.
was listening to this and like how excited he is, which is awesome. And it's like, you found one of those things that really just ignites you. Um,
Right.
because I also can't write articles like that. Like I don't have the flow, like or like the YouTube, the way he explains it, I think that's what he does best out of most people. I've taken the best out of anyone I've taken a course out of the people in our space is like I actually can understand it. Where like
Hmm.
I've had some really good PRI instructors for sure too, and other people. But like there's other times where I'm just like, I don't know what the like I don't know how to actually implement this. I get that like the theories here, right? But like how do I help myself or a client with this? And it's like, I don't know. I just know there's crew up.
Yeah. It's just practice, man. Like that's the thing. Like you just gotta like when I think of when I first started, especially doing this stuff online.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it was a disaster. Like I was actually talking to Sarah, my fiance, about it. She was like, "Yeah, you were a little bit cringy on your first couple calls." And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds right." I think about it and I cringe a little bit, but I've been doing this 2 years now. And it just flows, right? Even just like getting on this podcast and talking, like you asked me to do this 2 years ago, and I'd be, shitting my pants right now. Like
Oh
it,
yeah.
it just takes time, and you get comfortable with doing it. But I think just continuing to put yourself out there and practice it, it becomes a craft in itself. Like writing articles, YouTube videos, like
No,
it just
I feel that. I mean, even this podcast for me was like I was putting myself out here because I'm not someone that loved historically to be in front of a camera. Like my mom
right.
would be like, "You want to take pictures?" I'm like, I'm not taking any damn pictures. Like as a kid, like I just hate, dude. I just hated it. I mean, maybe it was because it also took me away from the experience in some ways. But like,
Hmm.
I don't know. There are definitely times where at least I've taken trips that I'm like, I wish I took some pictures, but like I've just been so present to it. I was like, it wasn't even really a concern. I don't really care.
Yeah. I see. I that's something I recently have gotten over because I was the same way. I was like, because I would see people take pictures in certain situations. I'm like, you're annoying. I don't like you. Like, and now I think on it, and there's experiences that I've definitely had where I'm like, man, I really wish I had like a memory of that. And now I'm like I went on my bachelor party, and it was cringy as all get out. Like I hated myself for it, but I was like, I want photos, like as many photos as we can get on this trip because I want to remember every thought of it. Because this is a good time, right?
Oh no, I feel that. I mean, I feel like that's like one of those rites of passage things where you go on it and you're just like, this is so out of the ordinary of things we would do that it's like it's one last hurrah. Like I totally get it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in not even like for that, like just in general, like we go anywhere. Like heck, we go to dinner. I'm like, I want to take a photo. Like,
No,
you
I
know,
think that's cool. Just yeah, I'm more sentimental definitely than some other people I know. And yeah, I definitely get that. I understand why my mom did it, and there's other things too with like how much family matters to her, and I get it.
mhm.
It makes more sense, but like you said, also I'm just not like a huge picture person. Like being on the in front of it, I'll take some pictures of you guys, but like
Yeah,
I don't want no pictures of me.
yeah, I get that. And two, I will say, like making content that's got me like over that fear as well.
Yeah,
Like the more you're in front, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a shirtless video I just did. I can't believe I just freaking did that. Like how many people just I think one of my buddies was making fun of me because I'll like send some stuff to them to like proof it.
yep, I
They're
do.
like, how's it feel that like 10,000 people just saw your nipples? And I was like, that's a weird question, man. Like it's also a weird thought.
I
Like,
don't think I feel like that. See, like I came from the other side where I just would feel weird. Like I actually really enjoy filming content when Connor lets me like walk him through some stuff because
yeah.
I don't have this like I don't have arches, so I can't really do. I can do pronation drills, but you're not watching much happen.
Yeah.
Like, but like he has me walking through it, and I enjoy it. I think like when I used to power lift, it was so normal to post your lifts, and
Right.
like you're just so focused on that. It was less about like I mean techniques in there too, but I think people are just really looking at the weight most of the time. That like, dude, I swear to you, like I don't know what it is. It's definitely a combination of genetics and the way I compress. But like my pecs have hypertrophy through everything I've ever done. Like so, like I would deadlift like high five, like low fives for reps, and people would be like, "Oh, look at his pecs." I'm like, "Are we just not going to acknowledge that I'm like pulling like 3.2 times body weight?" Like
Right.
the deadlift doesn't even matter. They're just like watching like my relaxed pecs just bounce, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like it, but it's also funny.
Yeah, it's like this is not what it's about, like at all. Like,
Yeah, but I'd be curious, because I when we connected over anime, I never expected you to see like I like JoJo for sure, as I've watched the beginning stuff, but I'd be curious to hear like your whole experience. Like you just finished Vinland Saga, which is one I highly recommend to like most people, especially
yeah.
like it's not too out there. Like
Hmm.
it's the pacing, in my opinion, was fantastically done. Like yeah, I just love so much of it. I can't even. I think that's like yeah, it's the easiest
Yeah.
way.
The Vinland was, I saw it and I really like seeing anime shows now because like ones that are only like they have 2 seasons, right? Or 24 episodes, something like that. It's easy to jump into. It's not a huge time commitment and I can like blow through it. So
Yeah.
like that's what really like drew me to it. And I like period pieces anyway. Like I like Marco Polo is a show that I like a lot. Just stuff that's like kind of historic.
Yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, so like it was like, okay, anime about Vikings. Let's see what happens. And so watching it, man, like it was just surprising. Like I did not expect that it was going to have like that much of a story. And like I
Oh
remember
yeah.
watching that like they really just like the suspense and the storytelling. It just has these like I don't want to say low moments because they're not low, but they're detailed, right? It's like the emotional buildup to like this fight scene that's actually going to happen. Like they do that so well in that show, and it was like the buildup. It was like 3 episodes till episode 24, the very end, where it's
Oh,
just like,
dude.
holy crap! And the whole time I was watching, I was like, this is something big's about to happen. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And it just I had no idea. Like I did not expect that at all.
I mean, I feel like the last 3 episodes, just as I go off the top of my head, is like they're playing like mental chess with each other, and you're like watching it
100%.
unfold. Where it's like who's gonna, or maybe like poker's better, like who's gonna, fold and flop, and it's like the ending itself too is just insane because
Yeah.
obviously like what I think they did a really good job of is like using the initial like youth of the main character, like and then seeing like how in that respect, he has to grow up that aggressively and like how distorted like his
Hmm.
life had to become. Like the first time he kills someone, like that scene is like one of the most effed up things. Like it's so good,
Seriously.
it's so good, but like you have fire, right? Like you have these other people fleeing, and
Right.
just you watch it and you're like, holy shit! Like
Yeah, and two, like I really like the language. Obviously watching it subbed, but the
same,
language that they use, and that's something that I think is always interesting is like the Japanese language when it's subbed and how they describe like emotions and people. Like I think that's something in that show that they did well. They would explain Thorfinn, the
yeah,
main
yeah,
character, as like a rabbit or a dog with a bone or like all these things. It's like he was so obsessed with just this one thing. And I'm
yeah.
not going to say it because I don't want to spoil, but it's like,
Yeah, I mean we've kind of done that on here too. So I would just tell people like I feel like people walking into it would kind of just be like, yeah, we're about to go into this. So if you haven't seen it,
don't listen to
yeah,
this.
yeah. But no, I
But
please,
I like the mental chess aspect as well. And I think that's something that drew me to JoJo, especially when they got past, the first two bits, you have like Jonathan, and then it goes into Joseph, Joestar, and
yeah,
especially Joseph, because he's more like funny, and I kind of like a main character that has like some sense of humor to him,
yeah,
which is why I like JoJo so much, is because they do like comedic relief really well. Like they just killed off one of the main characters, but it also like has this little bit of humor in the background, like in the next scene, and it's definitely an emotional roller coaster in that show, but they also play a ton of mental chess all the time. And it's like, what? Like, I didn't expect that to happen at all. What the heck? Like, every
yeah.
episode has something like that.
I I feel like that especially comes in as you're getting to what is it, like Jotaro and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Bizarre.
When they go from using, what is it called? It
Hammond
starts
or
with an
whatever.
eight.
Hamon,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They're using that hormone. That's what it is.
Hamon. Yeah,
So they go from using hormone, which like the breathing energy stuff, to like having stands, which are like your soul, like
yeah,
fight people essentially. It definitely gets a lot more. And that was something like I was mad. Like I stopped watching JoJo when they stopped using hormone and they switched to stands. I was like, this show's crap. I'm not going to watch this. Like, what the heck? And I was like researching. I was like, why did they switch? What the heck? All this stuff. And the reason they made the switch is because they had, like Dragon Ball Z was out at the same time. And, that was one of the most popular shows, like Toonami, all of that. And they were
oh
the
yeah,
guy, he was trying to like compete with them. I can't think of the manga artist, but he was trying to compete. And one of the issues he kept running into was that like in Dragon Ball Z, it's like, well, you have a Super Saiyan, and then it's like Super 7 Saiyan level, whatever. And they like get more and more powerful. And he didn't want to have to do that with Hamon, like where it just had to become more compounding, right?
yeah.
So instead, he went this other route of like creating a stand, which has a special ability, but then focusing more on like the person's tactics and how they approach the battle versus just overpowering someone.
I like that though because it's more like you're saying. There's like a more tactical aspect to it, and it's not like that's my main quarrel with Dragon Ball is like, all right, you're gonna kick my ass, then Connor's gonna kick your ass, then you're gonna kick
Yeah.
it real hard, you're gonna kick Connor's ass, but then we're
And
gonna
it
get
just,
Jake Turo who's gonna kick all our asses, and then we have to go kick Jake's ass after training. Like,
yeah, it's all the same thing to some degree. And I mean,
no,
don't
for
get me wrong, like
sure.
it's still good. Like, but I see why they went the route they did. And also, I think with JoJo, it's definitely not like PG or PG-13
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
at all. Like there's a lot of blood.
Oh
They're like,
yeah, man.
yeah, like they're like popping eyes out and stuff, which I'm like, cool. Like this is fun to watch.
I think the one that's burned into my mind that maybe I'll have to send it to you after this if you want is the when Dio throws like a steamroller at one point.
Yes.
Like
Oh my
someone
gosh.
edited that into two dung beetles fighting, and then it's just like yelling like road roller, and he just throws like a thing of dung at the other one.
Dude, and that's the one of the best things too, is like just the community around JoJo. Like it's one of the largest like meme anime
Oh
things that's
yeah,
like
man.
out there, like what is it, Starship Crusaders, whatever, on
Oh yeah,
Reddit.
yeah. That's my favorite. That's probably my favorite. Stardust
Dude,
Crusaders.
yeah, exactly. Like there's just such a funny community behind it. And of course, like I looked up like memes on Instagram and now it's all JoJo,
Oh
like
yeah, man.
everything.
It's I get a lot of them for all different stuff because I follow like just general anime pages that make memes.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, I feel like it's so easy to meme most of those shows, especially once you've like seen it, you've connected with the character, and you're just like, yeah, this is it.
Oh yeah, there's so many like little inside jokes that they do nowadays, and
It's
it
just
definitely makes me feel good. I'm like, oh, I'm up on this. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. Like that was good. Well done.
I feel like one thing I could just also really easily connect on, similar to what we're talking about memories. Like there are definitely like I'll see a meme or a screenshot of an anime, and for me, it lets me connect with my emotions super deeply. Like watching the shows, like
Right.
and I'll see the scene, and that alone can like reignite that emotion pretty powerfully, more than just like other day to day stuff that maybe isn't like that, or other sentimental stuff for me that doesn't hit that note.
Right. Well, and I think that's what's fun about watching anime. I think it's fun. I don't like to use the word like powerful necessarily, but it's just it's definitely entertainment for me.
Yeah.
Um, but watching how, in anime, like they can take this story, like it's almost like a modern, um, like what's the Greek tragedies in some way.
Oh, crap.
Is that, or like, like Shakespearean,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
which,
No, I know what you're
like
talking.
they,
I know exactly. I don't know the word.
yeah, it's just some sort of like tragedy, like, and they can take that aspect and it's like, oh my gosh, like I just built up so much of like an emotional attachment to this cartoon character. And it's funny to like think about, but at the same time, like they could, like the storytelling in these is something that I don't think you can do in just a regular like live action
Yep,
film or even series. Like there's something about it and the way they can tell this stuff, like it's addicting in a lot of ways. And it definitely like invokes such a strong emotion at these times, like, humor and, sadness and fear and all this stuff. Like it's intense.
for sure. I mean, I'm finishing a show right now that like there's definitely it's called Your Lie in April. Like
I haven't
it,
heard that one.
it can probably be triggering. Like if you've had like with your dad passing away at least recently, it goes from a different perspective.
Yeah.
But it's on a kid who's like a prodigy at piano, and like
Hmm.
if you're into psychology at all, like I've almost cried multiple times watching it because you're watching
Dang.
this, and it's I think it's even more relatable in some of those moments because you can like it's even closer to real life. Like even with like Vinland Saga, like the loss of his dad, like
Right.
stuff that drudged up. I mean, you can get it in other stuff that's like Cowboy Bebop. I'd say is not so far out there, right?
100%.
Like there's other stuff
Yeah.
for sure too, but like the way they just do it is so like I feel like I could put myself in that character's shoes so well that I'm like, yeah, I know what you're probably I can resonate with that emotion. Like it hits
Right.
that note in me that they're portraying through the show.
Right. No, 100%. I don't know what it is about it though. Like
I
I wish you could. I'm sure maybe there's like a Japanese word for it or something, but like there's definitely like a word where it's just like you just connect so strongly, but it's still like animated, like it's not an actual human or anything of that. Like I don't know what it is about it. It's such a strange thing to me.
It might be. I don't know. I think some of it is also because it's animated. Like, there's not another
Hmm.
person, like physical person, to react off of. Like,
Right.
you're just watching something else that's stirring up things in you. But you can obviously relate to all of them because, like, something that's really interesting with some of the like mangakas or the people who write the manga, they have like their own mental or physical health issues.
Right.
Like the one dude who wrote Hunter x Hunter was on indefinite hiatus.
Yeah.
He's back now. Like, but I read Tower of God, which I started reading. I think it was sometime during COVID. But like
Mhm.
this dude's gone on multiple hiatuses. He's publicly been like, I'm dealing with mental health stuff or physical health stuff. And like I think in seeing how they do like the world building and the character development, I'm like that makes sense because like no normal person who lived a average air quotes like life like could write this. Like it's too intense for someone to just be like, yeah, my life's been like normal, whatever that means. Like,
Yeah, like it, even not even relating to anime, but there's even just writers. Like I forgot his name, or I can't think of it, but there's a guy that was saying that he became a writer. Oh, it's oh, his last name's Holiday. He
oh, Ryan
writes
Holiday.
Ryan Holiday. Yeah, he talks about his experiences, and he's like, I was just this average kid, and I didn't know what to write about. And he said that he was talking to some guy, and he's like, well, to be a good writer, you have to have a lot of experiences. And so he went and like worked all these random jobs so that way he could kind of like learn what to write about. And that was one of the biggest like things he did. And so taking that aspect, I don't, who knows what some of these, manga artists are like going through or what they've gone through and all the crazy stuff, but also being able to take that and hopefully use it as a positive outlet to like create these things. It doesn't send them into like complete turmoil, like what's his name that played the Joker?
Oh, Heath Ledger.
Exactly.
I actually think it's probably very cathartic in some ways. Going back to like we were talking about Jordan Peterson's self-authoring course, like I think that is there in some
Right.
self-authoring or like their brain dump is like you're able to get it out somehow and share your
Mhm.
story or aspects of it like through those.
Right. Whereas like Heath Ledger maybe like embodied it too much. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like he was stayed in his head too much versus like someone creating a manga is able to like get it out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or like how can I share like my story through or meaningful things like through storytelling? Because I also
Mhm.
think of I haven't seen it, but there's like Jim Carrey does a movie. It's like Jim and
Yeah.
something.
Right.
And he like becomes so engulfed in being this character that like he just doesn't come out of it. Like that's who he is. And
That's hard, man.
I think there's outtakes where they're literally he just never broke character and like it's
That,
it's insane to think about like
yeah, like there's people that are struggling just to figure out who they are versus like just
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
become another person. Like,
Yeah, like think about that. Like you like and also what it would take to give up like you can't definitely give it up completely, I think. Like who you are, right? While being this other person, but like doing everything in your mental power to like continue to be a different persona basically.
I don't even have any way to relate to that. Like I said, I'm just trying to figure out who I am a lot of
Oh
the times.
yeah. I think it's some way we all kind of do it, but the base is still like you're Kyle Law, I'm Trevor Corrado, like but it's
Yeah,
the same as like, I'm not going to show up to a family gathering and start dropping F bombs, hopefully. Like, but if I'm with my friends and we're being dumbasses or, something, I'm
right.
not going to try to like take my grandmother who's Catholic and be like, yeah, you ever think about consciousness and be like, get out of there. Stop doing that. Like,
That would be a funny. You should bring her on the podcast.
oh, dude, both, I don't have either of my grandparents right now, but like, I just know my dad's mom was like super rigid, like very
Gotcha.
religious. So like, I'd be just very curious, like, Grandma, what do you think about consciousness? It'd be like, what? Like,
We don't talk about that.
can of work. I mean, I don't even know if they like. I don't even know if that comes up at all in the Bible, like directly, like implicitly. They're saying
I mean,
or
it's just
explicitly.
yeah. I think it's just they describe it as like the soul essentially. That's that gateway
That's
like
true.
to heaven in some semblance. Which
No,
JoJo actually talks about a lot.
really.
Yeah, that's like one of the big things, whenever someone passes or like gets killed or something, like you'll see their soul, like their stand, and it's like it takes off. And like
Actually, no. That reminds me of like Polterev. I think at one point.
yeah, it's it gets pretty like religious because there's also like, especially when you get in after Jotaro and that whole
That
thing.
Josuke and stuff.
Yeah, you get into Josuke, like there's more, like ghosts and all this kind of craziness going on. And then I think that kind of drops off though. But how far have you gotten into it?
I finished up to where like Killer Queen is, so I know like the Josuke stuff. I haven't seen Gold Wind.
That's my favorite.
I
I
know
love
you
that one.
said that, man, and I know like I know what happens already in some of it, like not
Mhm.
completely, because I've seen the first episode with Giorno, I think, if I'm not
Yeah.
like, which was an interesting thing because I wasn't expecting like them to go that way with it. Like I thought it was just gonna be like the Joe stars. Then it's like, no, we got this happening too. And I'm like,
He's technically a Joe Star. That's the thing.
oh yeah, partial. He's a partial, right? Like he's
Because it was Jonathan's body that it's ridiculous. Like, so I'm this is spoiler, like big time
oh, is
spoiler.
this go all the way back to the beginning with the head thing?
Exactly.
Okay. No,
So
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, like it's Dio's head on Jonathan's body who had relations with a woman,
Yes.
and then Giorno is born and he's got the star on his back, but he's got Dio's hair.
So you know what that makes me think of somewhat is like this will be a spoiler for anyone who hasn't gotten this far in Attack on Titan, but kind
Mhm.
of like Aaron's Titan and then needing Zeke.
Right.
And it's like the second they like came into contact, which is a little different from like obviously the JoJo way that they did it, right? Like once
Mhm.
Aaron had all like finished the loop and had all the requirements, it's like you're fucked now. He's got essentially he's basically like the founder to some degree.
Exactly. That's oh man, that was insane. Like
Oh,
finishing that, I was again one of those situations where you're just like so emotionally like invested, and you just like finish an episode and just sit there for like 20 minutes. Like, what the hell was that? Like,
dude.
how did that just happen?
Well, like we talked about, because I don't care about going into it if you don't like the thing with Grisha, like where you see the flashbacks where they zoom out a bit more, like the
Right.
panoramic sense that you're just like, whoa, I have a lot of like, wait, what? And it was like, yeah, Aaron's been through all of this. Like,
Yeah. I didn't expect like that attack titan to have like those abilities, and like him like talking to his own dad. Like I was just
yeah.
it's like what the heck, man? Like he's like Aaron's gonna get what he wants. Like
Well, I mean, it made sense though too, because it's like when you get to the scene with the owl, and he's like, "You gotta save Armin and Mikasa." He's like, "Who the fuck are Armin and Mikasa?" Like,
yeah,
and
exactly.
you're just
Like
like, how does he know that? Like,
oh, dude, it gives me cold chills like thinking about it.
I
It's
really,
like
I really love. I told Connor too. If you watch like the opening and even the outro, like the use of
mhm.
birds and like a bird cage, and then like the whole motif of freedom.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't think Aaron knew from the get-go having the Titan that this was happening. I feel like it came in pieces.
Hmm.
My initial question was like, was that actually him as a kid, or like since the moment he's had that thing, did he know that like this is what I can do? And I think it was probably more with like as he like connected with Historia
Progressed.
and the other people that had like the blood that he could mesh with in that sense that he started getting flashbacks.
Right. And had more and more like these abilities in some sense. And I feel like when he was, I don't, what is it called? Where it was like the blue
Oh,
area.
the paths.
Yeah. Like when he was there, I feel like that also like being there and outside of like time, I guess, like
Yeah. Oh, for
it
sure. Yeah.
was like probably a ton of stuff happened there.
I think so. Yeah. Like
Yeah. That's the only way I can kind of rationalize some of the stuff that happened. I was like, what the hell?
I think so, but I really liked his character development, and like I know how
Hmm.
the show ends. I'm not obviously going to spoil that. Someone told Connor a false ending because he asked me. He's like, I was at like hype. He's like, and someone told me this is how it ends. I'm like, that's not how it ends. Like,
That's
just
not
so I
how it
can
is.
save you from thinking this is what's going to happen. I was like, that's not actually
Right.
how it ends.
He posted that he was watching that, and I was like, "Good luck, like
Oh,
have fun."
dude.
Like,
I mean, I think the season four is definitely my favorite.
yeah,
Like because you get all of it coming, like you get the world building coming together, and you get the perspective of like everyone hates Gabby, but like
yeah,
she's pretty good as a cat. Like in one season, they took her character development from like
yes,
she realizes how distorted the world has been through like the lens of Marley.
right. It, I would say my favorite season of Attack on Titan is still probably the first one. Like
Really,
that first time where Aaron gets like chomped or whatever, and his like body's like flying through the air or something. Was it Aaron or was it? Yeah, it was Aaron. And like Mikasa's just like, what the hell? And I was like, this is season one.
oh
Like,
yeah,
like that was like, and also that was like really my first experience with anime that wasn't like Dragon Ball Z or like Toonami stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, what the hell is that? Like, what is this show? This is
Oh
insane.
yeah.
Like that is what like gave me my addiction, I guess, if you want to call it that, like to like anime. I was like, this shit is
Yeah, it hooked
crazy.
you. No,
Yeah,
I mean
100%.
that's like I only watched one episode. It's pretty classic. It's called Elfenlied. Like
Hmm.
it's on
I've heard of
Prime
that.
for free. But like the first episode, like you start at 100. Like imagine someone just like put a Corvette down while it's like the wheels are already spinning and it just hits the ground. Like because you're
Yeah.
watching the first episode and there's no build up. You're just like, what the is happening? Like, and then you just like the end of the first episode is the most calm moment of the whole first episode, and you're just like,
That's nuts.
uh, I got a lot of questions.
Right. I I definitely resonate with like shows that early on take away a character. I think because it that like immediately hooks me. I'm like, where are they gonna go with this now? Like I was
No, yeah.
emotionally invested. Like, what's gonna happen now? Like,
I think I don't know if you've seen it, but I feel like something you'd really probably like is Code Geass.
I've heard of that one. Yeah, someone
It's
recommended that. I'll have to
very
look at it.
tactical in nature. If not, like my tattoo artist recommended it to me. It was Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans, which I mentioned to you. Like
Ooh,
you don't have to watch any of the other Gundams to understand it, but like the different things that they do with the characters who each have their own like character development, but like
right.
the 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 vastness of the different directions they go with their characters is like you kind of have one person who's becoming more human, more empathetic, like
Hmm.
but also realizing like how realistic certain goals are, and then you have someone else who's just like, I don't care if I'm human anymore. Like I'll give
Right.
everything to accomplish like the goal of our team, so to speak.
Hmm.
And you're just kind of like watching him become less and less human. That's portrayed through like other subtle things that are also not so subtle at times.
Right. I'll have to look at that one. That one sounds like a good one to put on my list. It's not like
That
Code Lyoko, is it?
what's up?
It's I was like, I hope it's not like Code Lyoko,
What's
which
that? I
is
haven't seen
oh,
that.
you don't remember that show? That was like an old Cartoon Network like anime thing. It was like I don't know, man. You have to I think if you looked it up, you'd probably like recognize it. But it
Really?
was these like three kids and they had huge heads, like
I have
giant
not seen.
foreheads.
I am not.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I remember. How old are you, dude?
I'm 29.
Okay, so I'm 27. I remember Bubba 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 Bubba, the dude who fought with a mustache.
Yes.
Like, and that show was like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I miss it because my dad, I got to watch Toonami with me. Like every Saturday, we used to watch it.
Yeah.
Like, he'd seen a good amount of Naruto. Like my dad, well enough, like,
Right.
he definitely know characters by name. But I remember
Hmm.
Bubba 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 Bubba. He'd walk in and he's like, "What the fuck are you watching?" Like literally, you'd just be like, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, I don't know, but they went from like him fighting with a mustache to now they're inside the head of the sun. But now they're going on a date with the villain because he's got a blind date in 2 hours with three people and he's just him. He doesn't have friends.
It's like, where do they come up with this stuff, man? Like, I don't even know how they come up with stuff like that.
One thing you might like too, and I've told a lot of people, but this is more of like you can put it on whenever. You don't need to be
Hmm.
super into it, but it has some of the best action scenes too. It's called Gintama. So it's like
Mm.
goaded as a comedy anime because they make fun of everything. Like
Oh, this sounds right up my
oh,
alley.
dude, it's fantastic. But like in the scenes that are super emotional and deep, like it's fucking heavy. But like
Wow.
there's an entire episode that's a commercial, and you don't know till the last 30 seconds that you just watched a commercial for hair product. Like,
It
but
sounds like
none
a
of
Rick
the
and
episodes.
Morty episode.
Oh, dude,
Like,
it's so good. Like I'm watching it, and I'm like, because the character that they're using for the commercial has come up in previous stuff.
mm,
Like he has some development. And you're just like, okay, like he's traveling through space. I'm not sure how they're gonna loop this back into the main storyline. And then at the end, it just zooms out and he's like, "Are you losing your hair?" And which like what the
so there's a I think I might have talked to you about it. I would say one of the other like before I watched Attack on Titan, or it was after season one of Attack on Titan, I watched Space Dandy.
Yeah, you tell me about it.
Dude, that and it's a short one. It's 24 episodes. You can knock it out, and they're not going to make another one.
Okay,
But
good, good.
it's made by the what's his name? The guy who did Cowboy Bebop. Uh,
Oh, okay. I don't know the
Yeah,
name, but I know who you're talking. I know who you're talking about.
yeah. So it's very similar. Like it's a comedy. They make fun of stuff, but they're in space, and he gets killed like every single episode, and then it's like another variation of him in another universe,
That's
and like
cool.
his jacket will change colors or his hair will change colors, but he still like has the same. He's still like a bounty hunter or like monster hunter thing, and he's just terrible at it, and like he just like gets himself in these situations where he dies literally like every time.
That reminds. I just think of like Krillin from Dragon Ball, who they're like, "Oh, Krillin's dead
Hmm.
again." But like on the more funny side is Rick and Morty, where Rick's like, "Well, that reality didn't work out," and then like just
Right.
reborn, same consciousness. Like he's just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I gotta go here, I guess now." He's like, "Whatever." I think that's what
Well,
makes that show so good, man. Is he has that like. I think he's a good example of like he still cares about things, which is interesting, but like everything it doesn't nothing kind of matters because he can control everything, but he's still every stuff does still matter to him. He's like a weird duality in like his character.
for sure. It's like when you're that smart, the smartest person in the universe, and you can do whatever you want, but you don't do whatever you want. I don't know. It's like it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Have you watched Solar Opposites?
I've seen part of it, but not much. Is
It's
that
not
kind
the
of like
same.
that? Okay.
It's definitely, it's the same humor, and they make fun of that, which I love, like shows that make fun of themselves. But they do have this whole thing about like there's these humans that they've like shrunk down and put into a wall, like a bunch of
Oh, there's
hamsters.
a term for this.
Yeah, I don't know
Like
what it is, but they'll do entire episodes based off of just the people in the wall. And
that's cool. Oh, you're just getting their stories.
yeah, so they're like going through these whole processes while like the aliens are out on vacation or something like that.
Yeah, it reminds me of Rick and Morty has that episode of, like with the collectors. Like
Exactly.
it'd be like getting the perspective of all the things they've done that in other stuff for sure though. Like
Yeah.
I forget there's like some I feel like it was the animated version of like the Justice League and stuff. There was a term for like people that just collect like other species and stuff like that.
Right. There's like I think that's just a common theme that the writers do, because the same writers did Community,
Okay.
uh,
I've seen
which
episodes.
yeah, that's like one of my favorite, like I guess sitcom kind of deals.
Yeah.
And they have like the same sort of like stories every now and then. Like it's just like, what the heck is this? Like, where did this come from? So
Is there like transitioning kind of off of this for a sec? Is there any projects you're currently working on that you're like really excited for? Things in general in life you're kind of exploring could be in what we do in anime outside of that completely.
yeah. I
That
mean,
you want to
honestly,
share. I don't want you to share anything that you're just like we don't talk about this.
yeah, no. Yeah, I just launched my Broken to Beast program. So that's basically just trying to like be in the gray zone, because PRI is like, well, we're not training. And
Yeah. I
and
mean,
then
it
there's
was
like
made for physical
strength training.
therapists, right? Like,
Right, exactly. So it's really like just trying to work that gray zone. How can we take someone from broken to making progress in the gym, putting on size, strength, all the things that we know will make them a resilient human. But kind of building off of that, I've been just trying to like go after small little processes, like conversations that I have a lot of the times with people, sleep, nutrition, programming, and just making small little like PDF files and just things that I can just, you know, hand out to people,
like
just as
email
like
type stuff.
helpful tidbits. So that's really been like my goal as of recent.
Nice.
Um, and then other than that, man, like we're getting married in less than a month, so it's been crazy with that. So I will say, like getting through that with my fiance, and then just like getting after that, I'll probably put a lot more toward like some projects. But to be honest, man, just been trying to coast and enjoying the summer. Like I
Nice.
got my big project out of the way that I had.
Yeah, I saw you launch it. I like from what I've seen, I love the exercise selection because it's like it just goes back on what we said, like pick positions that like let people win. Like
Exactly.
I compare any of the Zercher stuff to like pizza, especially coming from the East Coast. It's like even when it's bad, it's good, and when it's really good, it's great. Like Zercher stuff
Exactly.
is so hard to like such minimal cueing and thinking and like stuff like
Right.
that alone, right? Like or the lat hang that you've done and stuff like that, like as a warm up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really just, I don't know. I'm really just trying to find ways to when I find something that works and it's working consistently across a population or like the people I'm working with, it's like, let me take this, put it together into something and just like, here, take this at a low price. Like, and let me
No, for
meet you all
sure.
where you're at.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And so that's kind of been my goal, I guess, for like the next like couple of years is to do that. My online stuff is full. It's been full for a while. So
nice.
just kind of playing around with it.
No, I mean, I feel like that's also just something like that just helps in terms of like being able to explore other things is being able to have like programs out there that you feel confident in that are well built out and that you can just have out there if you need to. You can always like make it a 1.2 or 2.0 revision. Like,
Exactly.
but overall, like the meat doesn't really change. It's kind of like, hey, like these concepts are, based on how the body moves and how we do these things. And I tell a lot of people because we get a lot of people in the gym, like a lot of people are doing the same thing, like exercises, drills, because they need
Mhm.
similar things, but maybe just for slightly different reasons. But like the body's the body, right? Like
Right. There's different variations, but it's still baseline blueprint is there.
for sure. Where are you guys going on your honeymoon?
So we were wanting to go to Italy, but
Okay.
that got sidetracked just because like starting after our wedding September 2nd, we every 2 weeks till December we have a wedding.
Damn,
S-
dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. So that said, we're planning on going just down to like Anna Maria Island in Florida.
Okay.
Just gotta there's a little resort down there. We've been there a couple times, spending a couple days, and then back on the grind and going
Cool.
to people's weddings.
No, I feel that actually. We've had someone in the gym who we see him like a couple weeks at a time, and then he was in like Bosnia or something for a wedding. Then he had another one, and like this man's just at the point where like I was told I got 2 years roughly, and then like everyone's just gonna be like, "Hey, I'm getting married next week," and it's like,
Yeah.
oh damn.
Well, I think so. This is like a record breaking year, supposedly, just because of like
COVID.
COVID. Yeah. So it's like the most weddings there's been in like American history since like after World War II.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's just insane how many people are getting married this year. So I'd hope next year I won't have like any because
Yeah.
we're just like, it's like, I think we have 8 or 9 this year, which is a ton. So
The funny thing, we have someone at the gym who she wears the same dress to every wedding, I guess. So she's like, I know exactly how many times I've been to weddings in a year because I know how many times I've had to put on this dress.
yeah, right. Like
I
that's a
mean,
good way to do it.
the only suit I think I own is for my senior prom, and like the shoulders don't fit quite right anymore. I don't know if I could like I could never do a lateral raise in it without breaking the suit.
Yeah.
But like I'm like I don't really ever wear a suit, so I just need one.
Yeah. I got like, I think I have 2 suits now because of it. But even then, I don't know. It's hot here. So
Oh yeah,
I
no,
usually just go and button down. Like, I'm not wearing a jacket. No way.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a blast having you on, man. If people want to find you, where can they find you, and like how can they connect with you?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I post mainly on Instagram. So the username for that is just at WAUGHFIT, WAUGHFIT. It's just my last name essentially. And then that's the same for YouTube. That's where I post more long form content. And then I have my website, which is Wall Personal Training. So it's pretty simple. Definitely, you know, I'm biased, but I have my program, Broken to Beast, that is out, and you can find that also just in on my Instagram, link tree, all that good stuff.
Nice, dude. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
For sure, man. No, thank you for having me.